When you say Lord of the Rings, some may think of ugly fictional characters, but this is what I think about. And that is the baby of Rennsport. Welcome to the facelift RS3, and in this video I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know about its tech and features, its practicality, and then I'm gonna floor it and tell you what it feels like on the road. And finally then, I will tell you what it'll cost to own one of these. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. Car Talks: Power, Precision, Performance. Now this RS3 has been lent to us by Audi Centre Rivonia, the largest Audi dealership in the country. And believe it or not, we've come full circle in this very moment because the channel's theme that you've just listened to features a cold start of a V8 that I actually filmed right here at this dealership. If you know what car I'm talking about, then leave a comment down below. Moving right along, this particular RS3 is finished in the magnificent Kylomic green exterior paint color, and that is the name of this color globally. The reason that is so special is because it is named after the iconic Kylomic Grand Prix circuit, which is found right here in South Africa, baby. So you could argue that this is a proudly Mzansi color. Now, one of the most obvious telltale signs that you're in the RS3 as opposed to its younger sibling, the S3, are those humongous oval dual exhausts as opposed to the smaller quad tailpipes in the S3. However, when you look a little bit closer, you'll notice that within those dual tailpipes are a set of 4 actual exhausts in the RS3. Stepping into the front, you get these beautiful RS carbon bucket seats finished in microfiber and leather combination. They also have honeycomb quilting in green as part of the RS design package, which also includes a microfiber flat bottom, flat top steering wheel. Some love it, some hate it, but I think it looks bang on the money. We will circle back on the seats during the drive, but for now, I think they look stunning. Now, the last time I was here, I reviewed an SQ8 and I made a comment that the paddle shifts looked like they were straight out of a base model Audi A4, which I was not a fan of. But these ones certainly look the part and more deserving of an S or RS badge. Stepping into the rear, you get the same honeycomb quilting in green as part of the RS design package, as is the case in the front. You also get a center armrest with 2 cup holders, as well as ISOFIX anchor points to mount your child's seat safely. Speaking of safety, the Audi A3, which this is based on, gets a Euro NCAP rating of 5 stars. You get 2 air vents, as well as 2 USB Type-C ports. And as always, I'm 1.78 meters tall or 5'10", and I can just about squeeze in behind my driving position. Now, I could go to town and spend the entire day telling you about how this car has wireless charging and 2 cup holders in front, or how it now has the Sonos sound system as opposed to the Bang & Olufsen in its predecessor, paired with the 10.1-inch infotainment system, of course, that comes with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Or perhaps that it now has the updated Matrix LED lights. Or maybe even the fact that it has a 321-liter boot, which is not the best in its class because the Quattro system underneath has eaten away at the practicality. But honestly, I know you're not here for all of that, and quite frankly, neither am I. I'm here for that glorious engine and the driving dynamics. So let's fire her up and hit the road. My initial impression is that this is a seriously fast and capable car because it is powered by the infamous 2.5-litre 5-cylinder petrol engine producing 294 kilowatts and 500 newton meters of torque. What is more interesting is that peak torque happens from a relatively low 2,250 RPM. The new BMW M2 by comparison makes 50 newton meters more at 550, but it makes that from 2,750 RPM. And on the other hand, the Mercedes-AMG A45S, which is on its way out, makes the same 500 newton meters as the RS3, but it only makes that from 5,000 RPM. So when it comes to the competition, you have to rev out the engines in order to get going, whereas on the RS3, peak torque is available as soon as you put your foot down, so it feels more urgent low down in the rev range. On the steering wheel, you will find a red checkered flag button, which once it is pressed, stiffens the suspension, improves throttle response, gives you faster gear changes, and gives you everything that 2.5-litre engine has to give. Exhibit A. Power is sent to all four wheels via a 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox. It weighs 1,565 kilograms and will do the 0 to 100 km/h sprint in a claimed 3.8 seconds, thanks to the Quattro all-wheel drive system. Now, Audis of years gone by used to shift for you before you hit the rev limiter when you're in manual mode, even for the RS models, which was quite bizarre and annoying. But what I like about the new RS3 is that we are now in manual mode, and I'm just gonna floor it. As you can see, it bounced right off the limiter, which is pretty amazing. One giant leap for mankind indeed. Coming back to the seats, those would be a 40,000 Rand optional extra, but they do allow you to sit relatively low in the car and feel exactly what those four tires are doing. And I honestly like how they look, but I'm a big guy and well over 100 kilos, about 260 pounds to be precise, so I have more real estate than what the seats can actually accommodate. So it almost feels like I'm being squashed into place. But you know what? I still like the look of these more than those of the BMW, because at least these are not trying to give you a vasectomy. But if you happen to see me in a BMW M4 with bucket seats in the future, don't at me. Okay, so when it comes to braking, you get 375mm discs in front with 6 piston calipers and 310mm in the rear. These are a no-cost option, by the way, but if you're planning on tracking your RS3, then you may want to get the carbon ceramics, which are a 95,000 Rand option. And speaking of the track, the facelift went around the Nürburgring 7 seconds quicker than the model it replaces, thanks to a few tweaks in the Quattro system, which was already exceptionally good. The system can send up to 50% of the power to the rear wheels, and the rear differential can then send up to 100% of that 50% to either of the rear wheels, which can then create oversteer, in other words, drift mode. As part of the performance upgrades, the RS3 gets wider wheel arches over the standard A3, bigger air intakes, and those 19-inch 5-spoke matte black alloy wheels. Interestingly, the front tires are 265mm and wider than the 245s in the rear. This is done to counteract the understeer and be able to handle that heavy 5-cylinder engine. Now this particular RS3 is the Carbon Edition, which will set you back an extra 82,000 rands, but it does give you a carbon fiber diffuser, carbon fiber door mirrors, side skirts, boot spoiler, and an engine cover to name a few. To be honest, the gloss black looks good enough and you can do without the carbon fiber because it's not like it adds extra kilowatts. And think of it this way, 82,000 rands is 2 years worth of petrol, assuming you're using 3 tanks a month on average. Other highlight features include a contrasting black roof and a sunroof which has that infamous manual sunshade from the VW Audi group. At this price point, I would at least expect an electric sunshade. Before we get to pricing and the cost of ownership, I wanted to say thank you in advance for 7,000 subscribers. Every like, every comment, every share does not go unnoticed. And if you're enjoying these videos, then do well to subscribe and become a part of the family. It goes a long way in growing our reach. Now, the SQ8 review that we did at this dealership is currently on 22,000 views. And if this video can outperform that one, then I will personally write to Audi South Africa again. Now, there's no guarantee they'll ever respond to us, but hey man, the only variable that is within our control is the quality of our content, and we just have to keep knocking on those doors until they let us in. Moving on to pricing, who still remembers the 8V RS3 making its South African debut at only 710,000 rands? And because of that attractive price point, it used to be one of my dream cars back in varsity. In fact, there used to be a Nardo Grey example that used to terrorize us at Rares. And it was honestly in my shortlist, but then new car prices had other plans because now the base RS3 kicks off with the Sportback at 1,498,000 rands, more than double in a span of just 10 years. Above that is the sedan version, and that's 30,000 rands more. But the model we're currently driving today is spec'd up to 1,762,000 rands. But because it's a demo with only 4,000 kilometers on the clock, you can get it from Audi Centre Rivonia for 1.6 million rands, and essentially saving 162,000 rands. Using the sedan version with no optional extras considered, on finance, you can expect to pay 28,500 rands a month over 6 years at the current prime interest rate of 10.25% per annum. And shout out to the governor of the Reserve Bank for the 25 basis point reduction in the repo rate. Insurance is risk profile dependent, and the cheapest quote I got was 4,200 rands. A full tank of petrol will cost you 1,100 rands at the current inland price of 95 octane for this 55-litre fuel tank, which would then bring your total cost of ownership to a mouth-watering 34,000 rands. In terms of competition, the Mercedes-AMG A45S is basically on its way out now. The BMW M2 has a similar starting price at 1,583,000 rands. In fact, it is 85,000 rands more expensive, but you do get more power at 353 kilowatts. And as for which of the two I would pick, it's really a tough call to make because although I'm a BMW fanboy at heart, the RS3 does present a compelling case because it is no longer only about straight line performance followed by mountains of understeer. It actually corners really well. Sure, the M2 is probably more fun and more dynamic to drive, but how many other performance vehicles have a 6-cylinder engine? And that is one thing you can never say about the RS3. And with the discontinuation of the TTRS, this engine is truly one of a kind. I also found another brand new RS3 sedan at the dealership, which was finished in Arcona white. And this one was moderately spec'd up to 1.6 million. So not quite as bespoke as our Kylomi Green Monster, but it did have those beautiful 10-spoke alloys, which I kind of like more than the 5 spokes. But let me know which of these RS3s you would prefer. And just in general, let me know what you would go for if not for the RS3. I think my biggest challenge when it comes to this segment in its entirety is that when I think of a 1.6 million rand car, I don't quite equate it with a hatchback or a small sedan. At that price point, I'm thinking of a BMW X5 or Mercedes-Benz GLE, and you can get into a demo or low mileage used example of those at that price point, give or take. So for me, it's definitely a hard sell, but there's obviously a market of die-hard fans for these things. Now, I'll need to drive the M2 as soon as possible in order to draw a back-to-back comparison, but until then, the RS3 has won me over. Thank you once again to Audi Centre Rivonia for loaning us the vehicle. And if you're looking for any new or used Audi product, then reach out to Jordan and let him know that you saw the Kylomi Green RS3 on Car Talks. I'll leave his details in the description below. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care. Oh man, what an engine.
What an engine.